everybody for another video, another story time video with Mrs Santos. And I'm really excited today because today we're going to have a story by one of my favourite authors. Julia Donaldson is her name, and today's story is all about one of my favourite animals. Look on the screen to find out what one of my favourite animals is. It's all about a doggy, and it's called the Detective Dog. So what I would like you to do is look at the screen. Look at the front page of this book. What can you see? What is going on the front page of this book? If you could pause the video, please, and get some answers off people. Wow, I love your answers. They are so good. I noticed the pizza. I don't know if you saw yourself, but there was actually a pizza that was being dropped. Gosh, I hope it wasn't wasted. We don't like wasting food, do we? So let's get started with today's story. Gosh, looking at the first page of the book, you can see the doggy and what he's doing. We all know doggies have extra sensitive senses of smell. So this is what's going to happen in the book. There once was a dog with a keen sense of smell. She was known far and wide as Detective Dog Nell. Sniff, 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 time after time, Nell the detective solved crime after crime. Who threw the hazelnuts down from the trees? Who took the honey away from the bees? Who did the poo on the new gravel path? How did the spider get into the bath? Gosh, this doggy sounds like it's a very good detective police officer doggy. Sniff, 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 with a wag of her tail, Nell the detective was hot on the trail. And look at this picture here. You can see the doggy sniffing away and following their nose. Nell shared her house with a person called Peter, a very nice child, though he could have been neater. And 6-year-old Peter was one of those boys who kept on mislaying his clothes and his toys. Sniff, 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 nose to the ground. These are the things the detective dog found. And looking at this, you can see Peter there. Goodness me, looks like it's a bit of a mess, and he's looking for his clothes and his toys. The bus in the bowl and the book in the bed. Goodness me, what a mess. The sock in the sofa, the shoe in the shed, the tumble down teddy, the bounce away ball. Nell the detective discovered them all. Gosh, I would like to have a detective doggy like that in my house. When I lose things, that would be so helpful. Now, Nell did detection Tuesday till Sunday, but did something totally different each Monday. She found Peter's bag and she tracked down her lead, then set off for school where she heard children read. Look at Peter going to school. He's got his school bag, and there's Nell with her lead, and she's taking him to school. I wonder if any of you go to school with your doggies. If you can put your hand up now if you go to school with your doggy. The children loved reading their stories to Nell, and Nell loved to listen and also to smell. Sniff, sniff, sniff. Mixed in the air were plasticine, custard, and newly washed hair. the crusts in the bins, and the coats on the hooks. But the best smell of all was the smell of the books. Goodness me, look at this wonderful classroom. Oh, wow, that looks amazing. I'd love to be there in this classroom with all of them. Books about dinosaurs, books about knights, books about planets and meteorites, books about princes who turned into frogs, books about dragons, and books about dogs. But then came a Monday when all was not well. Nell sniffed in the air and she smelled the wrong smell. Look, there they are arriving at school and she's sniffing the air, all confused. Oh my goodness, I wonder what's going to happen next. Into the classroom, the two of them hurried and found Mr. Jones looking terribly worried. He tugged at his hair and let out a sigh. Peter looked round and started to cry. Sniff, sniff, sniff. What was going on? The books, cried Peter. The books have all gone. And then you can see here Mr. Jones looking terribly worried. He's tugging on his hair. And look at this sad classroom with no books. Goodness me, what would a classroom be without any books? Goodness me, we can't have that. Nell gave a growl when she heard the bad news, but then started sniffing and searching for clues. Sniff, sniff, sniff. On the bookshelf, a cap. The thief must have dropped it. The terrible chap. And there she is. She spotted the cap that she can smell. Nell sniffed the cap. Then she tugged on the lead. And woof! She was off at astonishing speed. That's like my doggies when they run. They're very strong and very fast girls. Everyone followed Detective Dog Nell. She stopped at the traffic lights. What could she smell? Sniff, sniff, sniff. Haddock and hay, pizza and penguins. And further away, the smell of the thief. And how very exciting. Thousands of pages, all covered in writing. Oh my goodness. Then woof, they were off. With no time for a stop, past the farm and the zoo and the takeaway shop. You can see the zoo in this picture and all of what the town looks like. Oh my goodness. I wonder where they're going to go next. They raced through a field where the rabbits smelled good, then over a golf course and into a wood. Gosh, I hope she catches this thief because that's very naughty, stealing books from school. Let's continue. They thrashed through the undergrowth, leafy and dense, till they came to a gate in an old wooden fence. Then Nell started growling and pricked up an ear. She barked, and the bark meant the thief was in here. Oh, look at her barking there at the gate, and all of the children having followed her. Gosh, I hope they catch the thief. They flung the gate open, and Peter cried, "Look, for there sat a man with his nose in a book." Oh dear, he looks a bit embarrassed and shocked. There were many more books poking out of a sack, and the children yelled, "Those are our books! Give them back!" And they were quite right to say that. Sniff, sniff, sniff. The book thief looked sad. "I'm sorry," he sniffled. "I know I've been bad." Gosh, he has been bad. Stealing is wrong, but I just meant to borrow. I was planning to give all the books back tomorrow. Believe that, you'll believe anything. To borrow? To borrow? Nell pricked up an ear. She barked, woof, and the bark meant, I've had an idea. Then woof, she was off, and away they all sped. Gosh, they're fast runners, including the book thief who told them, I'm Ted. Sniff, sniff, sniff. They raced through the wood and over the field where the rabbits smelled good. They panted and puffed past the takeaway shop, the zoo and the farmyard with never a stop. Gosh, they must be very fast runners. Except to retrieve Peter's scarf and his ball, which someone had thoughtfully placed on a wall, till they came to a building with doors open wide. And what did they see when they all went inside? Oh, look at this. How amazing is that? Thousands of books from the floor to the ceiling. The books gave the thief the most heavenly feeling. He gazed in amazement. Where am I? He said. And Peter replied, in the library, Ted. You can join if you want to. There isn't a fee. And then you can take lots of books out for free. So Ted has a lovely new library card. And he sits reading books in his little backyard. Oh, and he's got a little pussycat he's petting. And when it's a Monday, Detective Dog Nell visits the school with the wonderful smell. Sniff, sniff, sniff. With a faraway look, she smells and she listens to book after book. Oh, wow, that picture. Books about dinosaurs, books about knights, books about planets and meteorites. Ooh, what's a meteorite? Books about princes who turn into frogs, books about dragons, and books about dogs. And look at this page, all of the children reading and studying their books, because books are so good for you. All the old books and a new one as well. The story of daring Detective Dog Nell. Gosh, that was such a good story. Julia Donaldson is such a good author. I do really enjoy her stories, and I hope you've enjoyed it too. So what did you learn from today's story? We learnt lots of things. We learnt that doggies are very clever and you can get police doggies who can help solve crime. We also learnt that books smell delicious and they're really good for you to enjoy and read and study. And we also learnt that stealing is wrong and we mustn't take anything that doesn't belong to us, that's not our own. Stuff that's from school needs to always stay at school. So we also learnt that today. So after hearing all about Detective Dog Nell and how amazing she was at solving the crime and finding the book thief, my two doggies also want to join in and they also want to say goodbye to you. So from Amora, she says goodbye everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye everybody. And also from her little daughter, Mirchillo. Mirchillo says, bye-bye everybody, bye-bye. And from me, Mrs Santos, I've enjoyed reading you another story. So hopefully I'll see you again next week and read you another story. So from me, bye-bye.